will correct my pronunciation of your name if need be. Soraya Stout, Maria Ramirez, and Kristen Johnson. We put this slide together, and the first question to start it off with is, what is osteopathic medicine? Okay, so I've got the next slide, so I'm going to go ahead and read our presentation here. Why is there a second medical degree separate from MD? So Andrew still wanted to protest against the current medical system available in 1874, and he felt they treated symptoms rather than the disease. So he invented the name osteopathy from two Greek roots, osteon for bone and pathos for suffering, in order to communicate his theory that disease and psychologic dysfunction were in a disordered musculoskeletal system, and he felt drugs were used too much and wanted a more holistic approach to medicine. Now I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to whoever has the next slide.
When and where was the first osteopathic medicine program launched? It was launched in Kirkland, Missouri, May 10, 1892. Next.
Okay, so I have the next slide, and it talks about osteopathic training and how it differs from traditional medical school training. So there are a lot of similarities between the osteopathic training and MD training. So both go to undergraduate school, both attend the 4-year basic medical science educations. So that's usually 2 to 3 years in the classroom and then 1 to 2 years in the clinicals. And also both can become more specialized, even though MDs typically become more specialized. And then both can prescribe medicine. But the biggest difference is just kind of how they're trained. And so DOs, or the osteopaths, they take that more holistic approach, kind of emphasizing preventing disease. And they also are trained in the extra classroom training. It's called OMM, which is osteopathic manipulative medicine. It's kind of like a hands-on way to relieve pain and to get the body moving again.
All right, so this is me. Are there feelings of competition between MDs and osteopaths? So doctors of osteopathic medicine, DOs, have been considered less of a doctor than medical doctors. DOs are newer to the medical field, lower MCAT scores, and DOs usually go into primary and family practice, while MDs tend to specialize. More bragging rights for specialties like surgery and cardiology. DOs can specialize, but usually end up in family practice, internal medicine, pediatrics, and obstetrics. In the end, DOs and MDs see the same patients, receive the same medical education, and work in the same environment.
This is my page, and it shows how many DO schools there are in the United States compared to probably 144 MD schools. And go to the next slide.
Okay, and so this slide is talking about principal figures in development of osteopathic medicine. The most important one was Andrew Still, who created the philosophy in 1874, and he also created the first school of osteopathy. And then other key figures, there's actually a lot of them, but I just listed a few. In 1996, a man named Ronald Blank, he was actually an osteopathic physician, and he got promoted to the general surgeon of the Army. And at that time, osteopathy just wasn't very popular. It was kind of looked down upon. And so once he had that respected position, it kind of furthered the popularity and acceptance of it. And then Louisa Burns, she was a DO as well, and she designed the first osteopathic research studies. Harrison Fryette was also a DO, and he kind of specialized in the spine and how the segments of our spine work. And what he found is still taught to students today. And then there's also J. Martin Littlejohn, and he founded 2 osteopathic schools, one of which is actually overseas in London. So I will switch it to the next person.
And I interviewed Dr. Strobel, and he's just starting his first year as a hospitalist in Idaho Falls, and he graduated from the DO school that was in Kansas City, the KCUMD, and then was the head resident at his residency in Ohio. And he chose a DO school because he applied to so many schools, and of all those schools he applied to, KCUM accepted him, so that's why he went there. And he was also impressed because he could do a dual degree, not only get a DO but get a master's degree in business, because he thought that was important. And he does say that he notices that MDs do tend to tease and maybe look down on DOs a little bit because it's easier to get into a DO school than an MD school. But he's had patients tell him that DOs are warmer, friendlier doctors. And just like Kristen Page said, that MDs tend to specialize and DOs tend to go into primary care and internal medicine. And he said that MDs focus more on biochemistry, while DOs have hours of training and manipulation. And that's a procedure that massages certain muscles to alleviate pain, which he agrees works, but he said it was overstated. And after graduating, he thought probably only 1% of DOs actually continue manipulation. I get headaches, and he tried that on me, and it really did work. Sort of pulled your neck, and I thought it worked. But we had a BYU professor tell us that most students from BYU Idaho are accepted to DO. It's harder to get accepted to MD school. And Dr. Strobel felt his experience at KCMUD was good, but it didn't really, training was good for the residency. And that residency scramble that all the doctors have to try to get a residency. Because most of the residencies are MDs, but it's changing now so that we'll improve that obstacle for both MDs and DOs. That was a fun interview. Thank you. You can go to the next slide.
Okay, that's mine. So I'm talking about Abraham Flexner, and what I found out about him, he was a high school principal until the in early, as it says here on the screen, in the early 20th century, there was a concern regarding medical school in the U.S. and Canada, and the American Medical Association Council on Medical Education contacted Carnegie Foundation, and they wanted for that foundation to help them, and in ways that how can they make medical school better. The American Medical Association Council on Medical Education and wanted to survey and restructure American medical education. And it says here on the slide, chosen by the Carnegie Foundation to do a study of American medical education, Flexner wrote a report regarding the status of colleges in the U.S. During Flexner's investigation, his brother Simon guided and coached him. Abraham Flexner traveled all over the country, and after he visited each of the 155 schools in the United States and Canada, which they were medical schools, he made a scholarly analysis of how bad the level of medical education was in America. And the report was published in 1910. And on the next slide, I put the recommendations according to Cook. The recommendations that Flexner, I guess, wanted were the following ones, which was high admission standards, including require a bachelor's degree with a strong science focus rather than merely a high school degree, and as was very typical at the time. And another one was a university-based medical school to train students to think like scientists, finishing 2 years of basic science instruction instead of just 8 months of lecture. The other one is 2 years of supervised clinical experience by university based on physicians and teaching hospitals. The fourth recommendation, experience in investigation through supervised immersion in laboratories and clinical settings. And the fifth one is instructions by physician scientists who would move effortlessly in the search laboratory to do beside and back. That's what I found. I found more information in the following slide. I think, yeah, that's the one okay. And there's more, those are, sorry, those are the same, but those are, and this is what he wanted in his report. And this slide right here, it's the same one. I'm sorry, I did not know that it was the same. I totally forgot to remove it. But if we go to I believe it's the last slide, which is slide 12, we can see that experience and investigation through supervised immersion in laboratories and clinical settings, that's part of the recommendations that Abraham wanted for the students to follow who wanted to go to medical school. And the last recommendation was, physicians, instruction by physicians and scientists who would move effortlessly from, the research and laboratory besides, to the bedside and back. And as the result for his investigation, Flexner suggested that many schools should be shut down. Out of the 155 schools that Flexner investigated in the United States and Canada, only 31 remain open. And Flexner, he also believed that there were many medical schools open in the U.S., and he also thought that too many doctors were in training. And after analysis, after he analyzed his report, half of schools were closed right away, and it was he was really serious about what he did, not counting that he was not the doctor, his brother was the doctor, and he was very shocked when they contacted him rather than his brother Simon, when Flexner was just an educator, a high school principal. So that's what I got from his report.
And we're done.
All right, guys. Great job. I'm just going to ask you a couple questions really quick, each of you. Let's go from start with Chris and then just work my way across. And I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked everybody out, or the other people in the last group. What was one of the most surprising things that you learned as you were doing your study of osteopathic medicine? Go ahead, Chris.
Sorry, I was on mute. Okay, so one of the things that really stood out to me is how it's viewed. The DO degree is kind of looked down on, and I have a brother-in-law who's an MD, and I asked him a few questions, and he kind of said there's usually a lot of quacks in that in that area. Now, were they based on facts, his opinion, or was it based off of what he was to understand with his peers and in school? And maybe that conversation goes around where they feel that those who aren't MDs are a little less than them. It was kind of like their nose are stuck up in the air, and so that was kind of surprising to me. I actually thought the degree option, of the DO is a very interesting one. I mean, it's science based, and the approach is a little bit different. Anyway, so I think a lot of I have some chiropractors that I work with in my work, and they just have different views, but their approach, they really desire to help people, and it's more of a personal approach. So that was something that was unique that stood out to me.
Great, thank you. Yeah, the difference between an MD and a DO, they're definitely different schools of thought, but ultimately in the end, all doctors, anybody that goes into healthcare is trying to help that patient and do what they think is best to help the patient. So thanks for that, Chris. Jamie, what was most surprising about you, or what did you learn the most about osteopathy as you studied?
Did you say Jamie?
Yep.
I thought it was interesting to study the life of A.C. Stills and how he started osteopathic. How his family, his wife and 4 children passed away from spinal meningitis, and that he didn't like how other doctors would prescribe those hard drugs like opium. He pronounced a lot of them. And so he looked for other ways to heal people. I sort of like that he looks for other ways to heal, and he's sort of a spiritual man. So I thought that was interesting.
Great, thank you. Yeah, definitely. I agree with you 100% on that. Kristen, what was something that that surprised you, or something that really interested you or caught your attention as you were studying about osteopathy?
Yeah, I really liked looking into the osteopathic manipulative medicine. Before I did this presentation and learned about it, I didn't know that DOs had to specialize in that kind of training, and it was just really interesting to me that they take that kind of holistic approach, and they kind of view the whole person and how their wellness is affected, and then how they can actually manipulate the body through hands-on ways to help relieve pain. So I thought that was really interesting. I kind of wanted to look into that more.
Great, thank you. Maria, what's something that you found interesting or surprising as you studied osteopathy? You're on mute, Maria. Huh. That's okay. I'm sure you learned lots of great stuff. So we'll just move on to Soraya, and it's not a problem at all. So Soraya, what's something that you found interesting about osteopathy?
Something I found interesting is that there are 31 colleges that have it. I didn't know that it was so spread out. And also, something else that was interesting is actually all of it. I didn't know any of it before I started researching it.
Great. Well, thank you for that. Thank you guys for Group 2 for presenting this today. It's some really great information. The class is definitely going to benefit from your research and the things that you've studied as you were putting this presentation together. Osteopathic medicine is definitely a great field to go into medically. As Chris mentioned a little bit, it is looked down upon a little bit that they're not real doctors, but I definitely don't agree with that. With my experience that I've had in healthcare, it's DOs and MDs are both excellent doctors and can do great work. So, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and end the broadcast right now, and then we can still talk a little bit, I think. So I'll go ahead and stop the broadcast.